This past week, President Obama laid out his plans for a significant cutback on the U.S. use of foreign oil. Now, this comes on the heels of the U.S. involvement in Libya and also the 3-week anniversary of the tragedy in Japan, the tsunami and the earthquake. Both issues looming pretty large over a tepid U.S. economic recovery. Joe Krier, president of Krier Wealth Management, is here to discuss the impact. He's an expert when it comes to money. And I wanted to start with the good news before we get to all the bad news, Joe. And that's yesterday the Department of Labor came out with the latest unemployment numbers, and it's 8.8%, which is the lowest in 2 years. We dropped a percentage point since November, so that's good.
Yeah, it's a nice drop, and you know, there's a lot of debate as to why it dropped. Sometimes the unemployment rate can drop just because some people give up, but the truth is that 215,000 jobs were created in the month of March, and that's one of the best months we've seen in a couple of years.
Now let's talk about gas prices, and we'll talk about the president's plan for energy. And he said he wanted to cut back 3%.
Yeah.
His plan.
It's actually, he wants to cut back 30% over 10 to 15 years. He wants to start cutting back right now, but President Obama knows that right now is economic recovery. It's kind of tentative, and something like gas prices going way up acts as a tax on the U.S. economy. Everything going on in the world is pushing gas prices up right now, and that can stall us out in a big way.
The war in Libya right now is very costly. Our U.S. involvement. Now, you talked about what former presidents have said. All eyes are on the Middle East right now, but really presidents since Nixon have tried to cut back on oil, and it just hasn't worked.
Yeah, every third year of a presidential cycle, they come up with their U.S. energy plan.
This.
Yeah, we kind of saw it, but right now it is pressing because we know that everything going on from Japan to the Mideast is pressuring oil, and if the U.S. continues to recover economically, you're coming into the summer driving season, we're going to start seeing that $4 mark at the gas pump kind of in reach, and that's going to put a little bit of a shock into people.
You're expecting a big bump here coming up, aren't you?
It could happen, you know.
It happens every summer anyway.
Right. You know, this is the time of year, and if the Mideast bubbles over and turns into something much bigger than what it is right now, you could see some panic, and you'll see gas and oil prices run up.
Our involvement in Libya has cost us $550 million so far. The White House and the Department of Defense says every week after this, now that NATO has really kind of taken the reins, $40 million a month to go forward after this. You know, the estimates vary, but right now we've been following Libya, we've been following the recovery efforts in Japan. Where are your main concerns as far as what's going to affect us the most in our pockets?
Yeah, that's a good question. You know, it's sort of a cauldron right now with what's going on out there, you know, and we say Libya is leading the charge, or the NATO is leading the charge in Libya. Well, the U.S. is the one still spending all the money, so we've got a drain going on there, and we're still spending money, of course, in Iraq and Afghanistan.
I mean, we're still a member of NATO with about a dozen or so other countries, but,
Certainly.
you know, obviously we're still a part of NATO. It's not like we're just passing it off.
Right, so you have that, you have Yemen, you have all different areas kind of bubbling over there. You have Japan and the strain that puts on the world economy, and what basically ends up happening is so many different things are pinging at the U.S. economic recovery that eventually consumers just say, hold it, I'm not going to spend any money, I'm just going to sit and let this play out. And if that happens, that's a disaster on our own turf here as far as this recovery continuing.
Bottom line, I'm just going to ask you to make a prediction. Which way are we going to go for the rest of the year, and what message are you giving consumers out there?
Yeah, I think that you know, we're moving in a slow and steady recovery, and I want people to be patient here and don't panic over the news. You know, you get bad news out of a nuclear power plant, you just got to wait and let it settle down a little bit. Don't make any big rash moves, and continue to pay down that debt that people have been doing for the last 2 years.
So we're still going in the right direction, do
Yes.
you think, given your experience? Okay, well, that's good, Joe. Thanks, man.